Several years ago, archaeologists digging in the city of David discovered an ancient coin. They found it in a drainage canal leading from the Temple Mount. It was a silver shekel, minted in the city-state of Tyre, located in what is now Lebanon. Archaeologists tell us that somebody probably dropped this shekel and either didn't realize it or looked for it and didn't find it. Either way, the coin rolled around the drainage canal, and there it rested for 2,000 years, until discovered in 2008 by a team from the Israel Antiquities Authority, representing the recreated, revivified, revitalized, modern Jewish state of Israel. Someone actually held that coin in his hand. One of our ancestors, walking the ancient streets of Jerusalem, was in that very place that we have walked with hundreds of Stephen Wise congregants. We've seen those drainage canals many times. I wonder what that ancient Jew would make of our finding his shekel 2,000 years after he lost it. His loss is our gain in the deepest sense of the phrase. His loss allows us to bridge the millennia and to reconnect with those who came before. We would not be here if they were not there. Without them, there would be no Jews today. I look at the image of that shekel, and I can imagine the shekel owner. And by imagining him, I can better imagine myself. I owe that Jew of Jerusalem my Jewish life. There's Torah today because Jews invested in Torah yesterday. There are Jewish schools today because Jews invested in Jewish schools yesterday. There are synagogues today because Jews invested in synagogues yesterday. Moreover, archaeologists assume that this Jew of Jerusalem was on his way to synagogue when he lost the shekel. Really? The speculation is that he was walking to the temple, and the shekel that was in his pocket was to pay the annual half-shekel tax for the temple's upkeep. How do archaeologists know this? Because the shekel coin that they found was the denomination commonly used to pay the half-shekel tax. Shekel coins were not generally produced in Israel until much later in the Roman period. Before that, the popular denomination was Tyrian silver coins. The same coin that Jesus and Peter probably used to pay the temple tax described in the New Testament. And how do archaeologists know of the half-shekel annual tax? From our Torah portion of the week. Chapter 30 of the book of Exodus states, when you take a census of the people of Israel, everyone who is entered into the records shall pay a half shekel as an offering. The rich shall not pay more, and the poor shall not pay less than half a shekel. You shall take this money from the Israelites and assign it unto the service of the tabernacle. In the period of the tabernacle, every Jew was commanded to make a payment of half a shekel, used for the tabernacle's upkeep. And when the temple was built in Jerusalem 5 years later, the half shekel tax remained. The organized collection of the tax occurred every year on the first day of the month of Adar, the month of Purim, and ended on the first day of the month of Nisan, the month of Passover, when, like in our synagogue, the new budget of the temple was determined. There was even a Shabbat that marked the beginning of this half-shekel season that we still observe today, called Shabbat Shekalim. The Shabbat immediately before the first day of Adar. This year, Shabbat Shekalim is next week, commemorated with a special Haftarah portion. So what do we learn? Judaism is first and foremost a community. Exodus states that everyone must pay the half shekel, irrespective of your beliefs or even of your financial capacities. The Parsha clarifies the rich shall not pay more and the poor shall not pay less. Everyone shall pay half a shekel. So the Bible is not laying out a progressive or conservative tax system. That's not the point. Rather, since the obligation is on everyone, the assumption is that the half shekel tax was not too onerous an obligation because even the poor could pay it. The Bible emphasized kol, everyone over the age of 20 who was entered into the records shall pay half a shekel. It's a fascinating and deeply revealing practice. In counting the Jews, we do not actually count the number of Jews. We count the shekels. It is the participation in the community that counts. If you are not participating in the Jewish community, the census doesn't include you. That ancient Jew who lost his shekel was on the way to fulfilling his communal Jewish obligation. I don't know what he looked like. I don't know whether he was rich or poor. I don't know what he felt at that moment. Perhaps he was having a good day. Perhaps he was having a bad day. But in my mind, I envision him as joyous. I imagine him with a spring in his step and a lightness of being that spiritual uplift always brings. He was on his way to the temple. How exhilarating. That ancient Jew was on the way to being counted. Count me, he was demanding. Here's my shekel. This is the essence of being Jewish. Count me. Of course, we have beliefs, ideas, affirmations, values, and teachings that have defined not only who we are, but who others are as well. We have revolutionized human thought for all time, we Jews. But from the days of Moses, while your views of Judaism interested us, what really counted was whether you stood up to be counted as a Jew. The principal framework of Judaism is not the individual Jew or the local synagogue. The center of Judaism is the Jewish people. You cannot live a Jewish life without the Jewish community. This is the significance of the tax being half a coin. Half a shekel. It is to remind us that we cannot do it alone. We need the other half. One half without the other half doesn't work. It's only half. Only the rich, only the educated, only the singles, only the couples, only the young, only the old, only the straight, only the gay, only the white, only the non-white, only the Jews of Israel, only the Jews of the diaspora, only the Orthodox, only the Reform. It doesn't work. It's not Judaism. It's the klal, the totality of the Jewish people that constitutes the Jewish family. The Jewishness of Bernie Sanders seems to intrigue many people. There have been numerous articles and blogs, I don't know if you've caught some of them, in both the Jewish and the secular media, questioning why the Sanders candidacy does not seem to excite the Jewish community, qua community. Many Americans who are Jewish are excited. But irrespective of political philosophy, why aren't Jews excited as Jews about the Sanders candidacy? After all, he's the first Jew in history to have won a primary race of a major party. I think most observers miss the point. It's not about political philosophy. Many Jews support Sanders' political values. It's not about Sanders' religious philosophy or lack thereof. Many Jews profess the kind of agnosticism or perhaps even atheism that Sanders projects. Many American Jews are agnostics or atheists. So what? Why should a politician's lack of religious beliefs disturb them or disincline them from being excited? It's precisely how they view Judaism as well. In the heat of a campaign, of course, it's not politically advantageous to deny religious faith. Poll after poll reveals that most Americans will support even a socialist before an atheist. Consequently, Sanders segues quickly into describing social action and social obligations as the core of his religious faith. But many Jews, perhaps most American Jews, have similar beliefs. It should excite them as Jews that he speaks for so many fellow Jews about the importance of our obligations to society at large and tikkun olam, repairing the world. So why the lack of enthusiasm? And I raise this not as a political question. That's not what we do here. I raise it as a Jewish question. It's what the media is asking. I think it's primarily a question of wanting to be counted as a Jew. Count me. This has always been the essence of Judaism. Count me. Here's my Jewish tax. That is what that ancient Jew left us. A Jew is not only a person who cares about all people. A Jew is one who also cares about the Jewish people. A Jew is not only a person who has faith. A Jew is one who also has Jewish faith. A Jew is not only a person who loves knowledge and pursues knowledge. A Jew who is one who loves and pursues Jewish knowledge. A Jew is not only a person who is proud of being a member of society. A Jew is a person who is proud to be a member of Jewish society. A Jew is not only a person who's prepared to pay taxes to support other people's well-being. A Jew is a person who is prepared to pay Jewish taxes to support the Jewish people's well-being. Now, I don't know what is in Bernie Sanders' Jewish heart. And I don't really care. And I certainly don't judge. And we're electing a president, not a pastor-in-chief or a chief rabbi. I'm simply addressing what the American media is asking. Why the lack of enthusiasm? And I'm simply pointing out that if commitment, pride, belonging to the Jewish people is in Bernie Sanders' heart, that is not coming out. And it is that. Count me as a Jew. That Jews Jewishly count. And that counts Jewishly. There's something quite astonishing about the Tyrian shekel that was found, it contained the engraved image of a Phoenician god. And yet, these were the coins that were used to pay the temple tax. These were the coins that were brought into the very sacred grounds and compound of the temple itself, the coins with the image of a foreign god. In fact, the Mishnah points out that only these coins were acceptable because they contained a higher percentage of silver, a higher degree of purity than coins minted elsewhere. I'm moved by this. Jews were always part of general society. We never sought to divorce or distance ourselves from everyone else. To the contrary, we were obligated to consider the fate of every person as our own personal fate. And at the same time, the purity of our Jewish identities is not diminished. The Jewish content remains, even as we have embraced the broader Western culture. It nourishes our understanding of Judaism and enhances our support of Jewish institutions. May this be so, now and evermore.